We've been walking Sema 21 last couple of days to show you guys the wildest rides that we can find and the stories behind them. The next car that we've spotted that we're going to show you is 100% stock. Probably one of the very few cars at Sema to be 100% stock. What is it, Matt?
This is the 400R.
40 of them known to be made.
Crazy.
I've seen one other one. It was in Melbourne or Brisbane, Australia at V-Spec. And we're about to check in with Brian here, who owns this car, and hear the story about how he ended up with this one of a kind, well, one of 40 Skylines. So Brian, you have one of 2 400Rs that I've ever seen and one of 40 overall made.
Yeah, so
how did you end up getting this car?
Right, yeah, so this was a tricky one. So a 400R is like a halo car. Obviously, it's one of those. I have a list of cars that like always like would love to find, import, and sell. And definitely on the list is the 400R. So I was super hyped when finally got the call that this individual wanted to sell it. I knew about the car, I knew where it was for years.
Where was the car at?
So the car was in Japan with an owner. Then it went with that owner to Canada. Was never driven, wasn't used, anything. He's a collector. It was just kind of a time capsule car. I think he said he drove it once. So it's really low kilometers, 31,000. So somebody drove it a little bit at one point in its life. But car's all original paint, all PPF'd. Everything is original as it would have been from the factory. But it was a bit of a process. The car had to stay in Canada till it turned 25 in September. So we couldn't go there to see the car.
Oh, because of COVID, you probably couldn't get up there.
We couldn't get in there, yeah. So I had a really good friend of mine who's an engineer, and that was like the one like person they were letting in. So he went and looked at the car for us, and I had actually never even seen a 400R in person before. So we had this car for like 7 or 8 months without any of us having seen it, and then
and it's not cheap.
Right? No, not at all. I mean, it's a big investment. So when the car finally got delivered, you know, it showed up, and it was everything that we really had our fingers crossed that it would be.
I would say so. Just looking at this, it is mint.
Yep. Yeah. I guess if you want to dive into it, look around.
Yeah, tell me what makes the 400R so special.
Sure. Yep. So 400R was built, you know, it was like a Le Mans style car, and it has a lot of things on it that ordinary 400Rs don't have, and also were never available for sale. So the only way you got a lot of this stuff was to buy the car. You couldn't just buy the parts to make it look like a 400R. Some of the stuff you could get, but the hood is a 400R only piece.
And that's carbon?
Yep, it's carbon. You've got these side skirts, which were eventually made available along with the bumper. But you have things like the rear wing and the carbon blade, you know, which was a 400R only piece. You also have an exhaust. 400R on
it's stamped into it.
Yeah, that piece was only available if you bought the car. You couldn't just buy an exhaust. Everything else on the car is all original as well.
Wow.
Inside, you get the Nismo seats. So what's unique about this is that R33s have a specific seat, 32 and 34, each their own. The 400R uses an R32 seat, and it has the Nismo stitching in it.
Oh, no way.
With the red accents.
I've never noticed that before.
Yeah, which follows into the rear seat as well. So really rare pieces, you wouldn't want to have to replace this. The engine that came on the 400R is a factory-built 2.8. So even though it says RB26 on it, it is actually a 2.8. It came from the factory.
What?
Yeah, as a 2.8. The reason they didn't do anything additional is because they only made 40 cars, so there's no point in, you know, coming up with a new engine or
a whole new cover,
doing something kind of design. So you have this cover right here, so the RBX, the GT2 motor. You've got the, as mentioned, carbon hood all through here, and then the titanium tower bar, another really coveted piece. You know, that piece alone, I think I just saw one sell in Japan for $10,000 just for that one piece. So there's some expensive parts on the car. One piece that I think is really unique is down here. You have this carbon fiber diverter.
Oh yeah, for the
which
intercooler?
pushes the air up.
No way.
And you see it continues through here with the carbon pieces as well.
Oh wow.
So that's a factory thing, factory Nismo radiator. You've got the Nismo badge here. So car number 29.
So 29 of 40 ish.
Right, yeah, so the plan was to make 100, and then they supposedly made 44, but there's only been 40 chassis numbers ever confirmed. Yeah, so one thing that's kind of interesting is that SEMA hasn't displayed a JDM, like true JDM car in their booth. So they've had, you know, like Supras and stuff like that, but not a JDM car. And what's interesting is that I think as you walk around, and you have been photographing a lot of cars, and probably over many years, you've realized that there seems to be a little bit of a shift.
No, for sure.
Maybe the age demographic is a good way of putting it, as well as like what's being built. So while there's still plenty of hot rod stuff out there, you know, you're kind of seeing the modern hot rodders, which are a lot of the younger guys that are building, you know, JDM cars, Supras, NSXs, RX-7s. I mean, there's a ton of RX-7s here this year. So there's a lot of really cool stuff being done, but it's not the traditional, you know, hot rodder kind of stuff that I think SEMA's been in the past really known for.
Is it make you nervous with nothing around the car? Have you had issues with the car?
Yeah, man, we've had some wild experiences with people like setting things on it and leaning on it. And
before you talk about this, what would you think this might sell for? Just a rough ballpark.
So I can tell you, there's another one actually that got listed yesterday for sale for $2 million. And that is not in the U.S.
This is the only one in the U.S.?
It's the only one in the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah. And there is one that recently just sold for 1.7, also not in the U.S. So if that gives you an idea of kind of what's out there.
So if you made it this far in the video, you don't know what this car is and what its value is. Now you know. Right. So it's been a little nerve-wracking, I'm sure.
The
sitting
example
here.
I use is if there was an F40 sitting here, right? People would like not want to touch it, but because it's a Nissan, they're like, "I'll just sit on the hood and watch Chip Foose talk about whatever." You know, it's like, it's crazy to me because I know what the car is, but a lot of people I don't think do. And
you literally just got it too.
Yeah, man. So, come on, give us a break.
Thank God it's PPF. What a great technology.
It is, yeah. It saves from the scratches and the wear and that kind of stuff. So hopefully no one trips into it.
What else should we know about the car? You've covered a lot of it.
You know, a lot, like I said, is there's not a ton of crazy modifications on the car 'cause it's all factory, you know? So, but I mean, there's cool stuff like, you know, R33 doesn't typically have this, like these arches, and you know, everything fits perfectly because it's factory. You know, the LMGT1s have been a huge...
I was going to ask if those were factory. That's interesting.
Yeah, so they
came white
on this car. Yep. So you could get them all white. You could get them white with a polished flip. You know, there's a couple options there, but these wheels have been trading for a lot of money. I think recently I just saw a set sell for $13,000. So they didn't used to cost that much, but now, you know, a lot of people are going after all of those historic, period correct kind of parts, and they want to get as much of that stuff as they can. So it's definitely driving the market a lot.
I think that's a perfect time to talk about your business.
Yes.
Was this like at the top of your bucket list items? What else is on your list?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously a 400R. So the top rank, we import a lot of cars. GTRs are kind of all of our favorites. Those are specialties. So I have a GTR and a Supra, and everybody else basically has a GTR. But you know, we wanted a 400R really bad because it's so unique. We wanted a Z-Tune, so that's like on the list of cars to find. We've done an R-Tune and an S-Tune and the M-Spec NERS and the Midnight Purple cars. So we've done kind of all of those. And
some of my favorites.
Yep, those are. But you know, like a NSXR, you know, would be a really cool one, I think, to see. There's so many cool, like, you know, Halo Gran Turismo cars, call them, you know, that are out there. That would be super cool to find. And, you know, we're starting to look more in like some of the race cars and some of the old, you know, historic drift cars and stuff, just to revive them, bring them in, and show the world that like motorsports outside of America is huge too. And there's so many cars like this car that, you know, people should know about if you're going to know about cars.
For sure. That's a beautiful car.
Yeah,
well, it's a treat to see the 400R out here at SEMA.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Super cool, dude.
Yeah. You guys check out Top Rank on, where can we find your...
Yeah, so our website's importedvehicle.com.
Okay.
Seems pretty reasonable. And then, you know, at Top Rank Importers for our social media.
Sweet. You guys can check out all the JDM porn on their site, and I'm sure...
Always have something new coming in, so...
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you, Brian.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate the time. One of the coolest cars I've seen at SEMA. I hope a lot of you agree. I know there's a lot of people out there just like, it's just an old Nissan, but I kept coming back to this car. I had to find Brian and hear the story on it because it's one of one in the US and one of 40 ever made. What a cool example of a car. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more SEMA videos and other 1320 videos. We'll catch you next time.